You're listening to Standing in Fire. Welcome, boys and girls from all parts of the world, to the Standing in Fire podcast. I'm sure there's some obscure countries out there that we are currently live in that are eating up our every word, and they probably have a book and they're trying to translate English because they don't speak English and they have no idea what's going on. They just know it's awesome.
I know for a fact we have a couple listeners in Bulgaria.
Bulgaria, fantastic! I had no idea.
Dos Padonia. Oh, sorry.
Do they speak Bulganese?
Wrong language.
Yeah, I don't know.
They speak Bulgarian.
Oh, I thought it was Bulganese. All right, well, again, fantastic show. I am Boom. I'm joined by Tess and Militus, and we are going to talk about Pantheon Rise of the Fallen until our hair falls out. Sorry, Tess.
No, my hair is not going to fall out. That is not going to happen.
All right. Well, let's get this thing kicked off. I didn't know if everybody knows this that's listening to us right now, but today is Tell an Old Joke Day. It is Tell an Old Joke Day. And so I wanted to take this opportunity. Everybody knows an old joke. So, Tess, give us your old joke to kind of kick things off here with Tell an Old Joke Day. Make it good. It's got to be fantastic.
It's a little long, so I'll make it as fast as I can.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. A guy dies and he goes to heaven, and he is stopped at the gates by St. Peter. And St. Peter says, we're having a little bit of an overcrowding problem up here in heaven. So we have a new rule. You have to have died an interesting death. And the guy says, okay, let me tell you my story here. For a while, I was thinking that my wife was cheating on me. So I came home early from work one day, went up to my 5th floor apartment, and I run in, and sure enough, she's naked in bed. Some guy's clothes are on the floor, and I just see red. I go running around my apartment, and I go out into my balcony, and I see this guy is like hanging off of my balcony. So I go into a rage. I start hitting his hands, and he won't let go. So he finally lets go, but he bounces off an awning on the 1st floor, and he doesn't die. So I go and I push my refrigerator over my balcony, it lands, and I have a heart attack, and I died. St. Peter says, wow, that's interesting death. You can go on in. Second guy comes up to the gates of St. Peter, or gates of heaven. St. Peter gives a spiel. The guy says, okay, well, I live on the 7th floor of this apartment building. I'm out on my balcony, sweating to the oldies. I trip on my shoelace and I fall over. But luckily, I grab on 2 floors down. This guy comes out and starts hitting my hands, but I'm not going to let go. And then he gets a hammer and he's hitting my hands. Finally, I can't take it anymore, and I let go. But I bounced off an awning on the 1st floor, and I didn't die. Then this crazy jackass pushes his refrigerator, and it landed on me, and I died. St. Peter goes, that's very interesting. You can go on in. Third guy comes to the gates of heaven. St. Peter gives his spiel. The guy says, okay, get this. I'm naked and in a refrigerator. There's my joke.
There you go.
Fantastic.
That's way better than my joke, by the way. That's way better than my joke. All right. Now, Melissa, give us your joke. I don't
know if I can top that. That's pretty good.
No, I can't top that. That was horrible. You got 2 jokes. Okay, let's go for it.
Okay, I got 2 jokes. Right, one is apropos given our recent history together, the 3 of us.
Yes.
What do you call Dolly Parton doing the backstroke?
I don't know. That's great, though.
I know I've heard this before, but I do not remember the punchline.
Okay.
Islands in the stream. Okay, I got one more 80s joke. It's a little more risque.
You guys just crushed me. I don't even want to tell mine.
I think I told that one when I was in 8th grade at least 100 times.
Oh my
junior
gosh.
High. All right. What do you call what's grosser than the sweat on Olivia Newton-John?
The sweat on John Travolta? I don't know. What is it?
Come on, Eileen.
Okay, I'm not even telling my joke. That is so stinking awesome. Oh my gosh. You both have crushed the joke telling.
Cheers, Tess.
Oh my gosh.
Now, do you want to hear my favorite bad joke? My favorite dad?
Yeah, go ahead, because I am not even saying mine.
Here's my favorite dad joke. It's what do you get when you drop a piano down a mine shaft? A flat minor.
Now, come on, Boom. You have to offer your contribution.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. But what I am gonna do is this.
Excuse me. When is Alpha gonna take place?
This game
when
never
is
coming out.
Some of that
episode's next.
Hey, you better not make a game hard. I'm telling you. If I have to play the game and actually see it, you put us
I decided I wanted to just roll right into our Pantheon Patient segment because we had an especially long and drawn out, complicated Pantheon Patient to tell everybody about that occurred. And I do want to let everybody know I have, because I've streamlined the Dell Optiplex. It is running like clockwork tonight. Like we have this under. I can take your phone call and I can run it through the system. You'll hear us, we'll hear you. It actually works. You can also text us on that. I'll get the text right away and I can read that on there too. So if you want to call in 702-625-1337 or you want to text to that number, you can do that if you feel like it. So just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. Well,
I want to throw one thing out there before we jump in though, Boom.
Yeah.
But one thing, we have to, you and I, have to admit that we're in the company of greatness, essentially here, because Tess is now famous. I mean, she
is famous.
She comes out with her, several weeks ago, Pantheon Patient.
Right.
And the next thing you know, everyone in the damn community's spouting
Everybody's
her
using it.
hashtag.
I'm glad that they are.
Now,
we all need to. We all need to be
so big
Pantheon
time.
Patient.
She's so big time.
I know she's like.
I feel lucky to podcast with her.
I know she's like the spokesperson for Pantheon now. She's like the official. Yeah. I think I heard that at some point.
Yeah. I think Brad McQuaid's been secretly courting her to woo her away from high school education to come over and work for Pantheon. Yeah.
Well, Boom knows
patience
my
to
salary
everybody.
requirements.
Yeah, I do know her salary requirements, and maybe I don't know. Maybe the tech industry is the right place for you. So, we had a really exciting adventure. Mine was a really drawn out, long adventure that was 5.5, almost 6 weeks long. But there was a pinnacle there in the middle where it was amazing. So if you don't know the story, I went out and I got to go all the way back. Militus.
You got to go all the way back. Yeah.
Militus last year decided, hey, you know what'd be fun? I'm going to get an RV and I'm going to take the family and we're going to go all over the country in this RV. And that's what he did. He went all over the country and he came out and saw us in Colorado the same time this year that I went and saw him. So his idea was so crazy and he sounded like he had so much fun. I did the exact same thing. So I went out and I bought an RV and I got in this RV and I went all the way down to Florida and all the way up to Tennessee and all the way about 6 weeks. Had an absolute blast. But the highlight was I got to go to Militus's house and stay there.
It was so fun.
In the RV, in the Vomit Comet. The RV's name is the Vomit Comet. And I got to stay there at his place in the Vomit Comet. And while we were setting that up, we talked Tess into flying down.
Well, my husband, his whole family lives there. And not to be a downer, but there's been some health issues. And so we had to go down at some point. And so I was like, no, not at some point. We're going to go down at this very specific amount of time so that you can spend time with your family and I can see my friends.
And
Now, I
had
think
a
Def
blast.
is pretty upset with you because he's
I
saying.
know.
But here's the thing, Def.
I didn't know where Def
He
was.
left it here, brother.
Yeah, look at that.
He left. Look, there's the mead. He
There's
left
some
your
mead.
mead here. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna pour one out for Def later in the podcast.
So
sorry,
I'm making-
Def. I'll
the
have a
mead
glass
has been a
for you,
big
bro.
hit. I'm making a lot of mead, so that's a whole nother story. We're gonna, Nick, my friend, and I, that we make this mead. We have decided now we're gonna go commercial mead. We're making some serious mead, so you'll see a lot more mead coming on. But I didn't even know Def was out there in Tennessee. Is that where Def is out?
No, he's in Texas.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's in Texas.
He is
I only drove through
really
Paris,
close to where
Texas.
I grew up.
I drove through the Eiffel Tower there of Paris, Texas, and I got my picture with that. That's all of Texas I saw. I really didn't see
You were
Texas
quite a bit
much.
north of him.
Yeah,
you're
I
a little bit north
didn't
of
see
him.
much Texas. At any rate, we meet up in Tennessee, and we proceed to have one of the most amazing rager pool parties
Have you
that
guys
can
seen
ever happen.
like Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Mhm.
It
Would you
was a mix between that and Dazed and Confused. You put
Yes, it
those two
was.
movies
Yeah.
together. It was so great.
What I love Boom's naming of the event. So would you go ahead and tell everyone what you coined it as?
Oh, I mean, that was totally. I mean, well, first of all, it just felt like a high school party, like it did.
But you said for old people.
Yeah, it's a spring break for old people, right? But it was like
There
so
we go.
crazy because when we were there and we were hanging out, there was this like weird surreal moment with the three of us hanging out. Now, and all of a sudden it was like I felt like I was like 20 again. I mean, I felt 20 years
me
old
too.
when I was hanging around at the pool with you guys, and we were just talking, and everything was. I felt 20.
You guys
years
were in
old.
the pool
It was amazing.
that first night. You guys were in the pool the first night that I was there. I was there on the second night of your guys's had been together for a couple nights actually.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the night that I got there, the boys are in the pool and I didn't I literally just driven across the state, and so I was just with my feet in the water and we're all drinking and laughing and and oh my gosh, and like my husband was there and their wives were there, and it totally just felt like, I don't know,
It was crazy.
it was so
Tessa's
so
husband and I
awesome.
had a bonding moment. I shared my swim trunks with the man.
Yeah.
See, that's
Yeah.
when you know you bond with a brother,
That's-
when you give him your swim trunks.
That's
He
like-
was, you don't understand, he
Yeah.
still talks about it. He was like, I'm so glad I needed to get in that pool. The moment I saw it, I needed to get into that pool.
Oh
was
my gosh.
fun.
It was so cool because Boom and I were sitting out. I have like a deck or concrete area before you get in the pool. And I invited a friend of mine over, which we need to have on the podcast at some
Yes,
point.
Yeah,
we
that'd be
do. He
fun.
was
Yeah,
awesome.
so he's real awesome. He designs games, tabletop games. And so we're sitting around the table and I made us some margaritas and we're all drinking and stuff. And it was getting late. And in my mind, I just given up that Tess was going to show up because it
Yeah,
was
'cause I had to
late.
stay for dinner. Yeah.
It
You
was
and I
late,
both.
and I was like,
yeah.
I'm like, she's not coming. It's going to be all right, but we're still having a great time. Maybe we'll see her tomorrow. And all of a sudden, Boom is like, there's Tess right behind you. And I was like, what? My back was turned to the French
Yeah.
doors. It was like, oh, like an angel. She just came out, and then the
Yeah.
party was on, man. Well, she got there, what, about 9 something?
About
Yeah.
9. Yeah.
I don't think we
Yeah.
shut down close till 3 in the morning, 2
No,
or 3 in the
I
morning.
I had to I was having to check into my hotel because I called my hotel because I was staying at just like a 2-star, like a hotel 6 or something like that. And I called ahead and I was like, listen, I'm probably not going to be checking in until like midnight. Is that cool? Is there's going to be somebody there? And they're like, yeah, no problem. I did not roll into that hotel until like 2:30, almost 3
Yeah,
in the morning.
I knew it was late. I knew it was very
It was-
late. Yeah, we had a great time.
It was amazing. It was just one of those times, and then we woke up and we went to Dollywood,
yes,
after
we
that.
did.
and we rode roller coaster after roller coaster. I mean, it was like we were 20
It was
years old again.
empty.
We were 20 years
yeah.
old. We just went. Here we are. We're like running around, swimming, partying, having fun, and then we just turn around and wake up the next day and go ride roller coasters. How rock and roll is that?
Yeah.
Militus and I rode. Boom didn't, because Boom was on kid duty, and so because we had all the fams were together, and the boys have a couple small children who can't get on all the roller coasters, so every once in a while we'd have to like go take those kids to something that they could do. But at the very end, and thank God this was at the very end, Militus and I got on this roller coaster, and listen, legit people, I have ridden a crap ton of roller coasters. This roller coaster at freaking Dollywood was legit the craziest, most epic roller coaster I've ever been on in my life. You know how most roller coasters, you go up the slope, tick, 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 tick. This one just went, bang! It just took off. And then it didn't stop. It gets up to
and it was that fast when it got to the top.
Yeah.
And then
it gets up to 75 miles an hour. My husband was laughing because
wooden roller coaster too, by the way. Not one of these, it's a wooden roller coaster. Yeah.
We're standing in line, and they have all of these like little video screens as you're standing in line, and like they legit were starting to freak me out. Like, you know,
it almost
you have to.
I told you.
This.
Remember? Hold on, boom! I gotta back it up. I told your wife and Tess, because we were in line together. I was like, "Oh, there's something about this roller coaster." And I pause on, and Tia's like, Boom's wife's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, do you want me to tell you now?"
Well, no, what you said was, "I have never ridden this roller coaster.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you why?"
Okay,
and we're like, "No, don't tell us until we're done with it." I was legit starting to freak out. We get into the thing, they strap us in, and I look up at the guy that's strapping us in, and I'm like, "Does this thing legit go to like 73 miles an hour?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "And you're lucky. He goes, "It just rained, so it's gonna go even faster." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he like goes down a little bit, and then he like turns around over his shoulder, and he goes, "I'm serious," like that. And I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" And then we get off the roller coaster, and then and then Nilla told us.
Yeah, I told them that whenever they built it, and for a long time afterwards, they couldn't get it. They couldn't get it safe enough for people to ride. So every time I would go there, and it's been built for a couple years, I would go there and I'd go by and I'd see it running, but no people in it, sandbags in it, because they were trying to get it on the tracks.
To stay on the track.
It doesn't stay on the tracks. It even has a sign that says you spend so many seconds airborne.
20 seconds.
It's literally,
yeah,
off the tracks. Yeah, it was crazy.
It was the craziest roller coaster I have ever ridden. It was nutso.
But as everybody can tell, it was like we were 20 years old again, and we were just having so much fun. And I want to encourage everybody that's listening, like when we talk about community and talk about stuff in video games, you really have to go out on a limb and get to know the people that you play with. And then at some point, just take the leap and go hang out with them. Like, go meet them in person. Like, just do it. Go out there and meet them in person. I'm making it a personal vendetta of mine to do that.
And since this is the second year that we've done this, like, I can't imagine next summer
it would be really boring.
Trying to figure out
how to see
everybody together, you know?
Yeah, we're going to figure
it's like our own
out.
Con.
Next summer, Tess is going to get an RV, and we're going to have a meetup of the RVs. All three RVs.
I vote Vegas. I vote Vegas.
Yeah. I always tell everybody, everybody should just go
Mama
meet
Tess can
friends.
Babysit.
Yep.
Nice.
Everybody could just bring their kids over here. Mama Tess can babysit for a weekend.
Yeah.
It was really amazing. I said this to you guys last summer. I had the same kind of epiphany last summer, and I know you guys felt this way last summer when we got to hang out, but it was even more so. We got to hang out more this summer than we did last summer. But definitely, you know, we're going to talk about Brad McQuaid's interview on Count to Classic today. But part of that, he kept emphasizing this exact same thing, that, you know, people the relationships people build in MMOs are fantastic, and they're real and they're meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
If the game's designed in a way that cultivates that, so you can get to really know people rather than you just meet up with strangers, then you're done, right? And you don't really get to know them that well. And if we hadn't been playing games for years, if we just jumped into, I'm not trying to bash on it. I'm subscribed to it. I play it today, but like if you jump into WoW today, for example, and you do the LFG tool, LFR, you don't really ever know those people. The group forms, you fight, they disband. You don't know who they are. So yeah, I'm super thankful for the Pantheon community, and I hope to build more relationships like I have with you two, with other Pantheon.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I would love
we
to.
Need to. We need to try to see if we can't work with Minus and Def and all, and everybody, Punk. I mean, I always feel bad whenever I mention one contributor, because I feel like
there's so many
that are great and I love. But it'd be great if we could, like, Kansas City, somewhere central US, and like try to figure out, like,
work harder to find a good place. Like let's even work harder than Kansas City. We're gonna
think about.
I'm trying to think somewhere central.
But think about when Pantheon launches. When Pantheon launches, before it launches, whenever that is, and we'll talk about that later. They're gonna have a big presence at one of the. I assure you, at one of the PAXs.
One of the cons.
Yeah.
PAX is hard. I can never go to PAX.
I
can maybe do Gen.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe they'll be there too.
Then there's Boom that just wants us all to go to Vegas, but that's just me.
Vegas! I want to go to Vegas.
There is an MMO that does a con in Vegas.
I want to go to Vegas. Come on, guys, let's gamble. Blackjack on me. Let's go.
The space game, kill each other.
I'm not.
EVE Online.
Yes,
EVE Online has they have a conference in Vegas. I'm pretty sure.
I guess we could crash it. I don't know if they have good food or whatever. We could crash it.
What's that developer of EVE?
It's a Russian. What is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not a Russian.
Yes, it used to be.
Do they
EVE Online?
Do they work with Stranger Things?
CCP. It's CCP, and CCP is on my crap list. I'm mad at them.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, we won't do that.
Never play.
Tess, did you do anything else besides get to hang out with us in your Pantheon patient? What have you been doing gaming-wise?
Pantheon patient, I do want to mention one other thing about us hanging out is that you guys got me into a swimming pool for the first time and I didn't leave that damn thing.
We were all in there together drinking. Well, maybe we weren't drinking that
No, we weren't drinking.
Because we were hungover from the previous night. But we were just chillaxing and talking video games in the pool.
Oh my gosh, it was so
great.
fun.
Yeah.
But that was great. But play wise, while we've been on break, is I've played a little bit of WoW, not a ton. I tried out because Boom said that it was awesome. I tried out Assassin's Creed. It's okay. I'm enjoying it.
Oh no!
I'm sorry.
You just hurt the man. You hurt him.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's all right. I like it and I'm enjoying it, but it's not one of those that I come home and I'm like, I can't wait to play it.
What?
I'm sorry. It's a fun diversion, and I got it for a really awesome price. It's so I'm cool with what I paid for it.
I'm over it.
And I also played. Now this was really fun. It was new to me, but I played a lot of the Civ 6 expansion. I can't remember what it's called now. It's been out for a while, but I just got it, and for me, because I love the Civ games, I've played them.
The time right out of your world, Civ.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. But I've always loved the Civ games, and Civ 5 and Civ 6 so far has not done what I really liked from early expansions, which imagines the future. And imagines the future technology,
right. And
the expansion for this new expansion for Civ 6 did that, and it was really fun. In fact, I stopped myself from playing it today because I knew it was going to suck up my whole day.
Yeah, it'll kill your day. Yeah. Milton, how about you? Anything besides our adventures that you did?
Yeah, just not. I've been playing a lot of games. I played a little bit of WoW. I may or may not have, because of legal reasons, played a little bit of private server time in in old school WoW.
Oh, so you
Are
dipped
you
your
excited
toes.
for that?
You did a little.
Well, just to get reacclimated with what it felt like.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize. I promise this is not going to be like a WoW thing, but don't they open up naming
On the 16th, I think, of August, something like that.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Yep. 3 names.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I know
I'm reserving Boom Laka, Boom Tap,
all right,
and Boom Drunk. Those are the 3 names.
Drunk. Okay, that's okay.
I am reserving Thomas Aquinas.
Oh no! Take my priest name. No.
Yeah. I'm gonna name one Abilities. That's how I'm gonna name. I'm gonna name a character.
He's gonna get banned on the second day.
So fast.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, I don't know. Like, I could say, good in front of it. Good abilities. I don't know.
Yeah, it's still.
There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways. Don't you think if I just run enough letters together? I don't know. We'll see. I am gonna name one of the 3 that I'm gonna see how long that goes.
Use wise. Use wise.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll work.
I'm gonna full
a
on
bill
go for it.
instead of the L, maybe a capital I.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because then it maybe won't like hit the
sweet abilities or just abilities.
Oh, there's one more thing before I forget. Boom bought a bunch of fireworks on the 4th of July.
We can't have them.
And I totally smoked a hornet's nest with some of the fireworks he bought.
That got crazy. So this is part of that whole spring break thing. I went and bought a couple $100
I drank too
fireworks.
Much. He bought this massive thing of fireworks, and where I live, you can blow them off any time of the year. So Boom buys this big thing of fireworks. So we blew up this hornet's nest that we found in a tree near my home, and beyond that, Boom had brought the mead out. So Milla starts hitting the mead.
Yeah.
Milla hitting the mead, and then Boom hands me these things of bottle rockets. Where I grew up in Texas, that was like a freaking challenge when someone handed me bottle rockets. It wasn't like put this in a bottle. It was like throw this from your hand. So I'm a little bit drunk on the mead. I start lighting bottle rockets, throwing them in the air.
Why don't we have any of this on video?
And they conveniently or inconveniently, depending on perspective, hit my neighbor's home a couple times. To which my wife was not amused.
No, she wasn't happy
at all
with him, and he just kept launching them right at his neighbor's house. Like
she eventually just took them away. Walked over. I'll take those, Terry. Thank you.
I think it was about the 4th one that you launched at the house that you weren't even pretending to not try to hit the house. The first couple were like, "Hey, I'm going to send it that general direction." Then after that, it was like, "I'm aiming for the window." Like you were just like, it was.
Oh God!
I'm telling you, it was spring break for us.
College.
It was college.
And the reason, have you guys ever fired a potato launcher?
Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. When I was in college, we used to use a potato launcher, but we would put beer cans in it.
Oh dear God!
And just launch them at people.
That's quite the projectile. And B, that's a waste of beer.
A waste of good beer.
No. If you go to where I went to college and where I used to live, and you could see in the house across the street to this day, there are little half moon indentations.
Oh God.
From when I'm sorry.
No.
God.
There's nothing wrong ever. There's nothing ever wrong with bringing up potato launchers.
Yes, it was kind of fun. It was kind of fun.
But we do need to talk about some.
I'm surprised. I was surprised though that you guys did not mention one of my things from this was that I resubbed to WoW after our talk in the pool, and and so this is kind of funny. I took a 110 character. The cap's currently 120, and on Friday I said okay, I'm gonna play. So I got on Friday, and I started leveling my 110. By Sunday, I was already 120. And at a 367 eye level. Like catch-up mechanics are real. Like
they are real.
Time. Yeah. It was insane. But with that said, we did a new dungeon last night.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually fun. We actually had to do something that Pantheon talks about. We had to CC.
It was hard.
Yeah, it was very hard.
We had to mark mobs. We had to know what we were doing. We had to strategize. We had to actually work that dungeon. And I thought that was really, really fun, and it was very promising. That felt
We only got
awesome.
one of the bosses down.
We only got one out of 8. Out of 8 bosses, we got one boss
in
down.
2 hours. We only got
And we're talking about Mechagon, the new mythic
that was
dungeon.
fun.
It was fun.
That was
it was
really,
a lot
really
of fun.
It was fun.
Well, let's go ahead and get into all of our Pantheon Rise of the Fallen stuff. But first, Tess, can you tell everybody how to reach us?
Me? Okay. You can visit our website at stopstandinginfire.com. You can email us at stopstandinginfire@gmail.com. On Twitter, you can reach out to us as a show at SIF Podcast. Yeah, boy. You can get Boomy at Boomtap Live. Militus at Old Militus. 1L, by the way. Or me, Tess, at... Yeah, I know. It's only 1L. At...
Wow.
You're such a douche. I hate you. Or me, Tess, at Debuff This. On Twitch, we are live. We're off of hiatus, so now we are officially back live on Wednesdays.
Yes.
10 Eastern, 7 Pacific at twitch.tv/standinginfire podcast. Or you can call or text us. Thank you. You can call or text us at 702-625-1337.
That spells leads. Hell yeah.
All right, we're gonna go ahead.
Coltrane.
Yeah, I
Can
know,
we
right?
can we go meet? Can we go meet?
You know, by the way, he's
Coltrane?
got a new podcast, and everybody should go check that out because it's Coltrane,
but-
and I love him.
Maybe he should be on our list of people that we go hang out with.
Oh, you know, that'd be kind of fun because Coltrane in that
just
pool,
saying.
I think, would have worked out.
if we get him to fly over from California, his new
Let's
podcast
go
is
to
called
Cali.
Azeroth Public Radio.
Yeah,
is
we
his new
should
podcast.
definitely see if we can get Coltrane in a pool. That's going to be a new
That
job
would be
of mine.
fun.
All
Yeah.
right. Oh, I
Oh.
spoke too soon. I was doing so good.
Don't know your gaming news? Well, neither do we. But who the cares?
All right, we got a lot of good news to talk about this week because
Ooh, we
it's
do.
been 6 weeks. Now, I want everybody to know the only reason we have so much to talk about is that we took 6 weeks off. So that's why there's so much to talk about. But let's go ahead and roll into it. First things first. Brad goes on Countdown to Classic, World of Warcraft show, and he talks Pantheon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he does.
What do you think, Militus?
I think it was. I thought it was. Brad does a lot of interviews. Well, not a lot. He does interviews, and I thought, well, this will probably be just basically things we've already heard. But there
You
were
have to
two.
speak to me because it was 3 hours long, so I did not.
Okay. Well,
It's
no,
just
hold
an
on.
hour in the middle.
Okay. Okay. It was in the middle, and it was just an hour in the middle of it. But he did have and I have a couple of. Hopefully, Boom can spin up here, but I have a couple of clips I want to do from that podcast. And you can pick either one, Boom, that you want to spin up first. Let's listen to it and talk.
All right, here we go.
We're going to try to make, even if it's a massive epic dungeon, we're going to try to make it sure that you can that you can experience it in bite-sized chunks, that you can go through with your group, play an hour, play 2 hours, log off, log in the next day. You're in a relatively safe place, but you're still, that hour or two into the dungeon, and then you can keep going deeper for another couple hours. And that's really it. It's still epic. It's still an incredibly challenging game. I was wondering when you said filthy casual, if casual means, easy, mowing down mobs, Diablo style, then I'm just going to say right up front, Pantheon's not the game for you. But if it is about challenge and death and risk versus reward and coming back for revenge and beating that mob, but you do have real life responsibilities, then Pantheon is definitely the game you should be looking into, because we're, like I said, we're approaching our content, and content's king, right? Can't just have a huge, beautiful world if it's not filled with interesting things to do. But that content needs to be divided up into chunks that don't have to be devoured in epic 8 hour long, battles late into the evening, so that you don't make it to work the next day, or your spouse threatens you or what have you.
I have not made it to work the next day before.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead and break that down.
So, well, hold on. First, I want to give huge props to Josh Corbett. He who runs the Countdown to Classic podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I tweeted Josh today. He's really cool. I tweeted him and said, "Hey, man, listen to the show. Can we possibly use this on our podcast?" He's like, "Yeah, Militus, go right ahead." Awesome. So thanks, Josh, for really giving us the ability to use that clip.
Super nice.
So I almost felt like, and by the way, we'll have his show linked in our show notes, so you'll be able to get right to his website, or you can find him on iTunes, both. But I felt like Brad was talking, Tess, I don't know about you, like directly to Boom, because Boom always comes on there. "I don't want to go camp a dungeon. You guys are going to out-level me.
Yeah.
You guys are going to leave me behind. I'm never going to be able to run. I don't have 8 hours to run a dungeon." And I felt like, he's like, "I have a wife. I have a job." And I felt like Brad addressed those questions. What say you, Tess and Boom?
Well, first, I am highly offended because I pride myself on being a filthy casual. However, I am the kind of casual that he's talking about. I don't have time to spend, every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday are going to be raid nights, and I'm a completionist. I want to see everything and I want to work towards something, and I don't want something just handed to me. And hard doesn't mean impossible. So that being said, I know I loved what he said. I thought that was very, very fragile. Fragile just said.
Yeah.
Only filthy casuals can manage one boss in Marathon.
Yeah, for clarification, we're dirty casuals, but
yeah,
we're
distinction,
not filthy,
people.
We're
There's a
distinction. We're dirty casuals.
Yeah, you can come join us in that.
But no,
forum.
And the reason that we could only manage one boss in Mechagon is because of my terrible mitigation. So it was my fault.
Fine.
No, it was whatever. But no, I appreciated that. What do you think, Boom?
Yeah, Boom. I really want to hear his perspective on this. Come on, talk to me.
I feel like as a whole, like, through the whole conversation, Brad said all the right things. And I don't know. I think he is kind of, I don't. It's a very positive thing to hear him talk like that, because there's so much EQ people in my ear all the time that are giving me the hardcore stuff that I kind of am pushing back against a little bit. And it's nice to hear him say something like, "Hey, you might work for a couple hours in part of a dungeon." Now, that is very unusual thinking for me. Like, I can't even, I mean, I guess I just did it on Mechagon, where we worked on part of a dungeon, and I didn't get all the way through it. That gameplay is fun. I do like that, and I would love to be able to come back and do another couple hours, and I'd love to be able to come back and do another couple hours. That's actually a really great plan. I don't know how it's going to get pulled off, because we don't know enough about the game and we haven't really seen it in action, and so I don't know how all that works. He said another thing in line with this, where he was talking about how in a dungeon you won't be alone, so it's not going to be your group in the dungeon. There's going to be other groups in the same dungeon, and how you guys might form up as a group, or you might do different things. That also is very different to me, and I don't know how that all is going to work and how that's all going to come together. And especially when we talk about these relationships. So last night when we're playing this dungeon in WoW, it's 5 of us. We're all in Discord together. We're talking. We're having a good time. We're getting to know each other. the other folks in there that I don't know as well, and I'm taking all that in. Well, now if I see a group over there, is it going to be just like a rival gang, over there? You know what I'm saying? Like, how's that work? Like, I feel like it's going to be a bunch of
part of it
little
would
biker
depend
gangs.
on the server rule set, right? Because
Yeah,
if you're on like a PvP server, things can get very interesting.
I mean, even then though, there's still that. Let's be honest, Militus. You and I are guys. We know how this works. Okay, if you and I, as group, is pulled up in front of, Tess, you're very competitive. So this might be you too.
Yes.
But let's say we pull into a dungeon.
I just threw down to
there's
Fragile in chat.
Isn't it naturally going to be a race? Don't we turn everything? Isn't it going to be like, hey, check us out. We just burned our mob down. You sorry saps are still over there working on your boss, and we're going to tootle off. Or are we going to be like, hey, we'll kill ours real quick, and then we'll come and kill yours, and then we'll be like, huh.
No, he did say in the same podcast.
Yeah.
He did say in the same podcast that he said he couldn't go into detail, but he said they will have systems in place to disallow groups to agitate, grief other groups. We talked a bit about this before, like having let's say you go into an encounter, like having the walls close in behind you. So let's say there's another group behind you. They can't get to you. So they couldn't try to hurt you while you're also trying to bring down the mob. They're their boss.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I buzz through it, and then let me say I'm in the other side of it. We're fighting this one group and we're dying. And then over there across the way is a group that just is mowing through things and moving right on down through the content. And then all of a sudden we start to feel bad, and then we're just like, ugh, right? I'm depressed.
But, okay. No, don't be depressed, because that can work in our favor. If you get on the tail of another group, because this is kind of how it works in ESO.
Mm-hmm.
In ESO, you run through and it's not instance. Open it up there, Milla.
Pouring one out for Def here.
Mm-hmm. This is the Colorado Mead. Yes, the Mead that.
Look at it!
I'm making so many Mead.
But so in ESO, you can. All of the dungeons are shared. It's not in
public. Yeah, they're public, right?
And not all of them, but most of them. So sometimes you might have to wait for respawn. But the respawn timers are pretty fast, and getting in behind another group only means that you have less trash to deal with. Like, it's not a big deal. So you end up, and sometimes two groups come together to.
Okay, but is it going to be one of those deals though that Militus and I, we just sit behind a group, watch them kill it, and then we just move a little forward and watch it, and we do move a little forward, and then we go.
But hey, you know what? I don't see anything wrong with that.
That's okay.
You could do
honestly,
that,
I don't see anything wrong with that.
You won't if you don't. Yeah, you could totally tag team into a pre-existing group like that. But how is that bad? What if we've been talking this whole time?
What if you get the first hit on the boss and you get the boss kill?
But see, I'm telling you, there are going to be systems in place where you can't do that. You're thinking WoW. You're thinking WoW.
You're thinking old WoW.
That's
and
how
tagging.
I'm thinking.
And that's not going to be the case.
No.
I have no background for EQ, so I don't know what's going on.
It's nice because in EQ you don't need, or in EQ in ESO you don't need to maybe be in a group. If you run in and you see an established group, you can just kind of tag along and help out. And
hell,
you can
one other person even sometimes is a nice side in that game in a public dungeon.
Well, not in a whole dungeon. You couldn't do in a public in a delve you could, but
Fragile in chat brought up something. He said, I'm pretty sure what Brad was alluding to is the caravan system, allowing people to log in and log out and continue with the group, which I think is awesome. However, remember when we talked about how the importance of towns, will that diminish the town? I kind of do, because that's the only way, being a dirty casual, you can go into something and then come back to it later.
No, but
without no instancing, there's no instancing, so you kind of have to have this caravan system.
The caravan system to me though is, and please, I am not EQ savvy, so if I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong.
I don't think the caravan system was in EQ, so don't worry about it.
But they were talking about how it would alleviate the super crazy long travel times.
Right.
I think that I don't think Pantheon is going to have that. Like, I don't think a modern MMO can have a even an hour travel time.
He actually, and I don't have a clip of it, but again, to listeners, go listen to the classic podcast because he actually directly addressed what you just talked about.
What do you say?
Because the interviewer asked him, "Hey, tell me, like, what inspirations do you get from this game and that game? What have you gotten from WoW? What about EQ? Is this going to be EQ?" So Boom will be very happy to know he came right out, flat out. You probably heard him. This is probably old news. He's like, Pantheon is its own game.
Okay.
He's like, we will pay homage to our heritage, but it is his own game. And to me, that was a pretty definitive statement. It's like, it's not going to be EQ3. And I know we got some EQ lovers in the chat. I'm not trying to be offensive or anything. I'm just saying that he later said, like, he said, for example, take downtime in EQ or take travel time in EQ. He's like, when I played text-based MUDs, those things made sense. But looking back on it in hindsight, it didn't make for meaningful gameplay to have those, crazy wait times and downtime and staring at your spell book. And he mentioned a couple of other examples. So to me, like, he very much is sticking to the tenets of, hey, strategic gameplay, hard, challenging gameplay, but not, let's make this old school, your life's going to suck because you're going to sit on a boat for 4 hours. After listening to the interview, I got zero. I have 100% confidence that's not going to be the case in Pantheon. The caravan system is more for like staying with your friends. Like Boom's always saying, "You're gonna leave me behind, Tess. You're gonna leave me behind, Melissus." So let's say we're in a group and he logs for the night, but you and I and Def and Fragile and Lex, we keep going, right? We keep moving on. Well, the next day, Brad said maybe when Boom does log in, he will be at a waypoint close to where we are now, where he doesn't have to spend hours or whatever traveling. He's not
trying to get around impossible mobs that I can't get through on my own.
He's not left behind.
And it's just nice that he's thinking about all this stuff. I guess that's where I've been coming from, because a lot of these things, they seem new to me. And, sorry if I'm coming and approaching with some of these new things with fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but I kind of do a little bit. I get fearful because he's saying, hey, it's open world dungeons. I've never really done open world dungeons very much. I mean, we've had games kind of do some things like that, like Guild Wars 2 did it with one of their expansions and stuff. But it's not saying I don't like the idea. I like the idea. I just don't get it. And
it's new to you.
Yeah, it's new to me. And the vision that he has in his head, I'm not going to fully realize until I actually see the game. And I think that's the hardest part for me, is that I'm working in kind of a world of unknowns right now where I haven't seen it. I don't see how it works. I can't. And I'm trying to piece together in my own brain how it works. And I'm coming up with I'm coming up with problems with it that probably don't even exist because it's not the same vision. That makes sense. So, my mind is probably not lined up with his as far as how that goes. But he said the right things to me to get me kind of reinvigorated about the idea of the game and playing.
Well, hopefully lower some of your worry, lower some
sure.
of your worry about those kind of systems.
Well, I mean, the EQ thing is the most important to me, because I don't just want a sequel with a different name.
And the thing is what Lex said it in chat. He said EQ's time has passed. He loved it. It'll always be fondly remembered, but times change. And I would say the same thing. I wonder if parts of Classic WoW are going to rub me the same way, where I jump back in, I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I really do like not having to have free agents or something like that.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of little things like that. One other thing I didn't have in the show notes. I know we have one more clip, but
you want me to go
again,
for it?
Go listen to the podcast. We're going to play that in a second, but I want to make one more point. I know we've been gone 6 weeks, and I got to say, I stayed up with the community. I wasn't as active on Twitter, but I was watching, VOT when they would come out. I was watching Def and Punk on their Monday shows. And I tried to jump in to chat. And when Tess was on with VOT and the big community thing, I tried to jump into that. And I know a lot of people are feeling disgruntled, and they have been labeling this past 6 months, 7 months. Nathan even made a video about it called the dark times or the dark ages. We're just not getting a lot of information. At the end of this interview, Brad, he asked him, hey, can you give us any tidbits, any dates, anything? Of course, he's not going to do that. But I could hear it in his voice. He's like, look, he goes, Project Fairthale. I'm like, oh, here we go again with Project Fairthale. I've heard this spiel 100 times. But then he says something really intriguing to me. He's like, you know what? He goes, I'm tired of talking about it. And it speaks of what you just said, Boom. He's like, I'm tired of trying to tell people how Pantheon's going to be its own game. It's going to be unique. It's time to just show them. And that's what we're trying to do with Fairthale. And to me, not that I haven't suffered with a lot of other people during this dark time that people have been talking about, but it did give me some, he sounded very sincere, like, listen, man, we just got to show you guys. We can't talk about it anymore. We got to put our nose to the grindstone, get this thing done, and put it out for alpha testers so they can actually play it. And then they'll know. And then they'll be able to preach to the masses and tell people about it. But until they can play it, it's not going to be the same as if I just tell you about it.
And he alluded to that as well in another statement he made about how the crowdfunding has sort of pinched him into a corner with it because he has to show things to the crowdfunded people to keep them from turning into an angry mob, right? So you got to give them something. However, we're in a state, it's a weird state in gaming right now, where if you put out a game that has a flaw in it, man, everybody is out on the internet and they just destroy you for a simple flaw. And so he's kind of up against the wall here where it's like, well, I want to show you this stuff, but if I show it to you and it's not complete, everybody's just going to go, see, that's not any good. And it's going to, paint the game in a negative light. So I don't envy the job that they're having to do at Visionary Realms. That's really a tough position to be put in. And I think the idea is, hey, let's get one zone really complete, looking good. We can sort of pre-alpha that zone. Everybody will really get the idea how the game looks and plays and does everything. And then we can finish the rest of the game. I mean, that's at least the impression that I'm kind of getting at this point, that's kind of the path they're taking. And it probably makes sense in this day and age, because if they were to release it in a pre-alpha state, which, let's face it, every other game company, we're not seeing pre-alpha of anything. We're not going to play pre-alpha AAA title Destiny, right? So they're working on a new expansion. They're not going to give us the keys to pre-alpha and say, here, you've been such a great customer, go for it. They don't give us that game until it's fully playable. And when they're doing their demos, it's just to nitpick a few little things, but that game is done. And this game is in this weird position where they don't know kind of what to do, because crowdfunding, but also I have to do what the gaming industry wants, and so that's really tough.
No, it is a tough spot to be in, and because he mentioned this too, and we've always talked about this in the podcast. But he's like, we're crowdfunding, and that creates certain limitations. But you heard it in his voice. You could hear the seething, the animosity in my perspective for Sony Online Entertainment about Vanguard. Because if you've ever read about what happened to Brad and Vanguard and SOB and all that, it was very nasty. And they pushed it out. The bottom line is they made him push it out early and unfinished. And so he's like, there's also, some benefits not to having a publisher. We can take our time. So yeah, there's good and bad, but let's get to that next clip. I want to play that next clip, and let's talk about.
I'm going to throw it in here.
There's going to be a matchmaking system, and your players are going to be encouraged when they create a character to fill out this group matchmaking system. Now they don't have to, and they don't have to answer all the questions, but there'll be some basic ones like what time zone are you in? When do you usually play? Are you a hardcore player that likes to play, 6 hours sessions, or do you only have 2 hours every night, or Do you only play Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Basic stuff like that. But then, and again, this is optional, there'll be all sorts of questions about not just in game what your preferences are and how you like to play, but what you're interested in outside of the game. What are your hobbies? What are you into? What makes you passionate? What drives you forward? And the idea here is to bring people together that have similar personality types, both in game and outside of the game, and to create those friendships. I run into people all the time, and they've met their spouse, in a game that I've worked on, or they've met friends, or they're still involved in a guild, even if that guild's not active, and they still have this relationship 15, 20 years later.
So where do you want to take that, Militus?
Like us.
Okay. So both of you need to like give me some signal or something, because I'm about to lose my shit right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If the first message was for Boom, that one was for me.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just straight up, let's just back up we got to break down everything you said here, but let's back all the way to the very beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. As a psychologist, pretty much full on nerd hard on when he said, we're going to have a matchmaking system that builds a personality profile for you. Optional. You don't have to do it, but we're going to match you with like-minded people. And if you don't have any friends, you'll make friends in the game. That is awesome. That's the first time I've ever heard anything about this.
I love it.
I've not heard anybody.
They needed to put that
anything.
in the freaking newsletter. That should have been the very first section in Under Wraps, is that this is our matchmaking idea, because it's killer.
He spoke about it like in passing, like I want this matchmaking system. I'm like, holy shit. No MMO has ever done that. They've never done that. That's freaking awesome. Number one.
Fragile said, I can't wait to match up with other elitist assholes. I love it.
Hold on. See, Fragile's group is going to be the group that, like, in the dungeon mows shit down. Yeah. And then you're going to have Militus's group, the hopeless utopian idealist. No.
And I'm tanking for it.
Heal for you. I'm like, something's going to hurt me.
and I'm like jumping in front of every single attack. Doesn't matter what group. I'm like, I will take it. I'll soak it. Yeah. Oh gosh, this is I love it so much. It makes me happy.
It's us. He's like, well, I know people who've met in game. Now we're not married per se, but we met in a game. Yeah. We met in a game, and we were just lamenting a few minutes ago about us in my pool and having fun and riding roller coasters. That's exactly what he's
and getting drunk about. On Mead and firing bottle rockets at your neighbor's house.
There we go. That's it.
Can I pretend that I was like Phoebe Cates?
You were.
I was not. No.
She was rocking the Phoebe Cates. Yeah.
No. No.
I mean, I, for all the darkness we've been through in the last 6-7 months, that made me feel great. What he said right there. That's it. Like that part of his interview, I'm like, thank you, Brad. That's what we need.
That puts legs to some of the ideas. I think that's probably where some of the disconnect is. And I, even in chat tonight, like reading some of the comments and stuff, some of the frustration I think comes from just not, people want to see the game, and I know there's some folks in chat that want to just see the actual game and see the gameplay. But there's a lot of us just want to hear from the devs about how they're going to accomplish some of these ideas. Now, that also is tricky. Some of it's trade secret. You don't want to give away all the ideas, right? You have to. I know I've worked, like I said before, I've worked in startups, and intellectual property is the most valuable thing in an organization, and so that becomes a thing.
Well, can I give one teeny tiny bit of criticism? Just a little bitty one.
Absolutely.
It's odd to me that these things that we are just in love with and have been talking about are not from the newsletter, but are from a WoW Classic podcast. You know what I
That's a
mean?
very fair criticism, actually.
I wish if he had come just on Twitter or put out something and I just think it's odd that that we're finding out these things that are going, oh my gosh, this sounds so great, from not an official Pantheon source.
Yeah,
Am I
that's a fair
wrong?
criticism. Well, I mean, Lex said earlier, and I kind of, he's like, hey, they could do this, and I push back, and he's like, hey, they're operating like this 2005, and I'm like, well, they don't have budgets like it's 2005, and he's like, well, Militus, it's just 20 minutes, talk for 20 minutes, and I have to concede, I have to say, if Brad did this on a consistent basis, he's a very inspiring.
So inspiring. Whenever
person.
he opens his mouth, I want to like lick his toes. Like, come
F
on.
the newsletter. Not to say I don't like it, but like, if you give me this, like that, what he gave us today, I will take that versus the newsletter. No questions asked.
The
Kind of
end.
like for Julie, I'm like, the trees are nice and all.
Yeah,
but that doesn't inspire me.
No.
What did Chris Rock had this routine? He used to say this. I can't say it on our podcast. But he used to say, you gotta love the crust of a mother. He's like, you can't just love the inside part. You gotta love the crust of the mother. And Brad is that kind of guy. He can like inspire you to love even the crust. You know what I mean? Like hearing him talk, you even get interested in bland systems or ideas.
Passionate. He's passionate.
He's very passionate. And it comes out. That's more appealing to me than a newsletter.
Well, and so this is what I think personally. I think the newsletter is great for giving us like all the different things that the team is doing and little tidbits about different things. But I really think that Brad should think about doing a companion to the newsletter, doing a little letter from Brad, or doing, like you said, like a 15-minute just little spiel about what he's excited about with this latest development over this last week, or this last month, because that is what gets me going, and that's what it keeps me pumped and hashtag Pantheon passionate.
Right.
Is
that was a little different.
No, I used that one too.
Yeah, she's used that one too. Yeah.
No, that was not. That was a Pantheon passionate, not
Pantheon passionate.
Well, here's my thing. Before he released this interview, I was feeling a lot of the negativity, and I was taking in some of the negativity from other people, and I was kind of running with it. So as I saw somebody else, it was like, Chris Kane or somebody else comes out and is kind of like a little bit, and then I was like, if they can do it, I can do it too, and then I was kind of running with it. But when he came out with a couple of those things, it did answer some of my questions. I started to feel for where the project is. I got a lot better picture of what's going on behind the scenes. Now, does that mean that I think the game's coming out right away? No. Does that mean I think that pre-alpha is going to be soon? No. Does that, none of these things I think are true, because I'm going to switch and transition right into the newsletter. They're working on the leaves of the trees right now. Okay, so the game is not going to come out right now. They're working on leaves of trees right at the moment. And so we're going to have a while to still be Pantheon patient. But what I appreciated about the interview is it's getting, it was something that helped me overcome my need to see all the stuff. And I don't really need to see the trees. And I'm upset because whoever worked on those trees
were beautiful.
Hard. Yeah, they worked hard on those trees. And
they were gorgeous trees.
Whoever made the trees, more about making trees than anybody on the planet. You are, I bow to you. You are the tree master. But in the words of a comedian, I don't want to see how this stuff is made. I just want to love the stuff that I love, and that's where I'm kind of at with this. I don't necessarily want to see the intricate. I don't want to see the actual source code, I guess, is what I'm after. I just want to see the thing, and as we all want to, we just want to play it. That's what we want to do.
I will say this, though. My biggest beef from the last 2 newsletters was that we weren't seeing anything from actual, it was all concept art, or it was all like lore stories.
Right.
At least this time we got to see some realization of that stuff, not only in the trees, but guys, can we talk for a moment about some of those sick animations?
Yeah.
They were pretty sexy.
They were incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so you remember, I guess it's in January-ish, February-ish, they hired a new lead animator.
Yeah.
Remember
What's
that? We
his
covered
name?
that. Ross something.
I don't recall.
I'm sure that Lex or Minus or Def or somebody will tell us. But in chat, but they hired this new lead animator, and you could see the results of that work in those animations. And it's taken time. Ross Armstrong. Thanks
there
for
we go. Fragile.
Thank you for Julie. Yeah, so you can see some of the benefits of that hire. It's just taken 4 or 5 months after the hire for it to manifest itself into something they can show. Having said that, I agree with Tess. This newsletter was more technical, but I'm
not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it. It's just.
But I will say,
too much? Okay, maybe I'm asking for too much. So you two in chat.
But I will say this: if I wish Brad's interview hadn't been on a WoW.
Well, and Lex did text us. I will say this: Lex sent a text right after you said what you said. He said
what?
This.
And what did he say?
He said, "I gotta ask. How do you feel about Brad doing an interview with a WoW podcast before doing one with a Pantheon content?"
Well, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with that. And you guys know that I love WoW. It is my go-to MMO. I know we have a lot. Well, it's mine. It's where I got my MMO roots, and I love the game. But we're talking Pantheon right now, and it's a little miffy to me that the most inspiring things that I've heard about this game
in 6 months
were dropped on a WoW show. I am not saying that Brad needs to go on a content creator show or something like that. But what I am saying is what I said at the end of the talk about the newsletter. If that newsletter had a little 15 to 20 minute bump from Brad, that would have been amazing. I did not know. I thank God for the boys. I didn't know about any of this stuff because, like we said, it was buried in the middle of a 3-hour classic WoW podcast that I wasn't going to listen to, because I don't need to listen to 3 hours about classic WoW. I had no idea that he was even on the show. I had no idea that, it wasn't tweeted out, like, check out Brad. Maybe it was tweeted out. Maybe I did see a tweet, but
I think Basgram tweeted something out, but that's all I saw.
Yeah. It's like where was the information to our community, about that's the only thing that bugs me about it. Well, I love what he said.
I get it. And that Boom actually called this months ago, actually, maybe. So I
Yeah,
want him
he
to talk
did.
about
He
this.
did.
He
100%.
straight up called the tie between Classic's launch and Pantheon. So I want him to talk about that in a minute. But I'm never jealous of a content creator. Let me say that first and foremost. I'm happy for everyone who's in our chat. If Brad McQuaid were to go on with Def tomorrow, I'm not mad. I'm happy for him.
No, I won't be sitting here going, why doesn't Brad come on our show?
Yeah,
Brad will never come on our show.
No, if he's smart, don't do it, Brad.
Don't do it. Stay away.
So I'm not jealous of content creators at all, but I am an advocate for them because I know how hard it is to, week in, week out.
They work harder than we do. There's a lot of them that are working
Nathan
their tails off.
Napalm had me laughing yesterday, singing "Carry On" to the Dark Ages of no information coming out from it. I mean, he was so struggling for something that he's like, I'm going to get him sing and dance and act crazy just to keep people entertained. And if he's struggling to do that, then I say shame on Brad and them because man, instead of giving that to the and I love Josh, he's a great guy, but man, what about throwing a bone to one of those guys, that come out week after week?
Or even if you don't want, like I was saying, the reason I was saying to do it as a companion, maybe a private little video, a VR video, because I understand the companies can feel like if I do this for this content creator, then I have to do all these things for all these other content creators. So don't do it. That's fine. Just do it as a little mini companion thing.
I think there's
don't make me go searching.
Well, I just think there's a couple more things. Obviously, he wants the WoW Classic crossover. He's speaking to that audience, so
millions.
It's an important
in that audience.
Yeah,
millions.
It's an important group for him to be kind of associated with. The other thing, as far as going on like one of these other podcasts, everybody that we deal with is too close to the game. They're some of them are invested in it.
And, that's fair. That's fair.
And they're so into the game. It's not a. It doesn't become a fair interview, right? It's just got a different vibe to it. And the last thing, to Josh's credit, who runs that show, he's really good at interviewing. And it doesn't. He has no axe to grind, and he's not going to be confrontational. And he knows that he's going on to that to have a genuine, interview process. And so I think the combination of all those things actually makes sense as to why he did it. Now, that doesn't mean some bones shouldn't be thrown to the Nathan Napalms of the world who work, as hard as anybody at this, because they should get some things, and he should come on and maybe explain more what he talked about on one of those shows. And I think that would be great, because those guys, like especially Nathan's got no axe to grind. Nathan's going to make sure, he's really just wants to talk about this. And I think it's so cool. I want to just backtrack though real fast, because I had one other point. One of the things that got buried in the newsletter that I think is really important to mention is that the reason that they're doing the work of the trees, there's actually a reason there. So, and maybe this is where the communication disconnect comes from, because they don't explain the reason, they just show me the tree. But the real reason that they're doing the tree, and it was kind of mentioned in there, but you could really easily lose it, is because they're trying to create assets that are scalable and reusable and that work with a lot of different variety of types. So for instance, you could change that leaf to be a different leaf and then change the tree dimensions and do a couple things. You got a brand new whole system, right? That's important because they're making one level and now they're making all the assets to where they can make all the other levels quickly.
Scale it. They can just scale
If they would have come out and said, hey, here's why all of this crazy tree work we're doing is so important, and they could have spent several paragraphs explaining to us this process. We have to do this so that we can roll it out faster to you and all these zones to you and all this stuff to you. Everybody'd be like, oh, they're doing all this work up front so that it goes faster later. Yeah. Oh, I get it. And then there would be kind of a sigh of relief, and it'd be like, oh, okay, my patience in Pantheon is going to pay off with more zones and faster production of content. Okay, that makes sense. that's where the disconnect is. They're just showing us the work, but they're not telling us the purpose of the work. And that's where I think some people are getting a little bit sidetracked. So we talked about the spell effects. Last thing was Belle Iris, the NPC character, was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
An Arkai. It was a very crazy...
What was your take about surfing? Let's hear it. Come on.
So it was a very crazy
I'm sorry to
thing.
interrupt, but I'll be... it's just really quick. I'll be right back. There are cops outside.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Call the police on us.
Yeah.
No,
All
it's
right.
not.
Fantastic.
I'll be back.
The restraining order has been
Hey,
issued.
I want her to take her phone out there and just get on the phone and show us the cops.
Live stream it. Come on,
Live
Tess.
stream it. Come on. Okay. Well, she's not going to do that. Anyway, so it's a long read if you haven't, you want to read it, and it's very fiction story-ish, and part in the middle I kind of got lost. I'm sorry. I just read it in passing. I didn't have a lot of time to read it. But at the end I noticed a cool thing. It's a bunch of stuff that happened to the Arkai that sort of led them to becoming surfers. That's essentially the message.
I don't think that was part of it.
No, that was all the message.
The surfing
because,
part.
Well, they were all so bummed and everything. It's only logical that the only thing that these people have left is surfing. Like, surfing is life. And they found peace and passion in this new, almost meditative sport that they're involved in. And they hang out on the beach, and it helps them with all of these pain and suffering and their crusty skin and all of that other stuff that they talk about in there. It helps them with that. And besides, they have the perfect skin type for being in the sun all day. So
yeah, they do. You're right. They do have the perfect skin type.
Everything about them is just, they are surfers all the way. And if the Pantheon team doesn't fully embrace that, they're just missing out. They're just missing out.
See, we wonder why they won't come on the show, Boom.
Oh, I know why they won't come on.
Penis jokes, penis climbing walls.
Yeah,
and surfing Arkai.
I've never doubted why anybody would ever not come on our show. That's basic stuff.
I want to read you one thing from the newsletter we kind of glossed over.
Oh, did we gloss over?
I'm gonna back up. Yeah, I'm gonna read it real quick. I want everyone in chat to respond to this too. This is from the introduction, and this didn't catch. I can't believe this didn't catch your eye, Boom, because of one keyword. It says, but this month's newsletter is no small part a precursor to that unveiling. And unveiling is referring to Project Fairthale. So, one, they use the term precursor, which has a special meaning to the three of us. That was our previous show's title, Precursor Cast. And two, is that all but not a statement of we're about to unveil this? That's what I read.
No, I think they are about to unveil it in about 6 months to 9 months.
I don't think it'll be 6 months.
It's going to be.
I think it'll be in the fall.
No, they're going to unveil it. So Classic's going to hit, Classic WoW is going to hit, and they're going to unveil it at about the time where that's sort of dying off. So I would say Christmas, maybe first of the year, you'll see some of this new zone. That would be my prediction.
Well, Brad did mention today in the WoW podcast that he said he hoped that there would only be one more pre-alpha phase. And I gotta believe that pre-alpha phase would be Project Fairthale. Has to be. So they give it to the pre-alpha testers, they clean it up, and then they launch straight into alpha testing crowd of Project Fairthale while they build the next several zones, and then rinse and repeat. They do that for each, maybe not just one zone, maybe 2 or 3 zones at a time after that. So I don't know. I could see them going into the next pre-alpha, let's say in the fall, and then maybe launching alpha sometime next year.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna roll into the militant segment. Maybe. There we go. it's that time again where Militus talks to us about all of the crazy people in Reddit.
She didn't get arrested.
Yeah, what's going on?
It wasn't me. No,
we
I
thought
think
you got busted for pot.
No,
Are they still out there?
It's legal here. Yeah, they're still out there.
Well,
But no, I think
so hang up, get your phone,
I know.
get on
I
Discord
know what is
and show it to us.
No,
we want to see.
no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
No, but I'm pretty sure it was because I thought that I heard some weird noises before. I think somebody was shooting off fireworks.
Ooh.
Because all fireworks are illegal in Colorado.
Not in Tennessee, baby.
I know, but that's why it was so much fun.
That's why I went crazy with it. Yeah, that's why.
I think that was what was going on.
All right.
I just went outside. I was like, something like,
boring.
Am I in danger? And like this cop was like, no, you're fine. I'm like, okay,
man,
bye.
You should. We could have had him on as an interview. All right. You missed your whole opportunity. If I had cops out here right now, I'd be like I'd take the Dell and pick it up, and I'd just carry it with me. I'd get an extension cord, and I'd tote it out there, and I'd be like, "Hey, come on the show." Okay, Militus, no Reddit tonight.
No Reddit.
I just read that. There's no Reddit.
Yeah, I looked over Reddit today, and I have to throw a couple of tidbits out to the chat. Of course, I have to say, Minus's, I was going to give him a shout out in the community spotlight part of our show, but Minus's DPS meter video did really well on the Reddit. Like people,
everybody's.
I did as well. Like I thought that was awesome. It changed my perspective. Video. He changed my perspective. I actually.
Okay, so explain.
Well, I went into the video thinking I hate them and I don't want them in Pantheon whatsoever. And by the end of the video, actually, I agree with them, and I think they are needed.
Wow.
I think DPS meters should be allowed.
Wow.
Yeah, given his arguments about pugs and finding a guild and making friends, all the kind of core tenets of Pantheon, I think they are needed because, he makes some good arguments about self-improvement and kind of awareness, and you liked all that. Like, okay, let's go back to Guild Wars. Remember us? Like, I would never know at times, am I doing decent damage? Am I weighing the group down? And I had good friends. You guys weren't telling me that I suck and get out, but I was just curious. Yeah. And so, I liked the video a lot. It did really well.
As long as it doesn't turn into me chasing a meter. That's
no. Yeah.
That's my only negative. I like to know what I'm doing. Although I'm not doing the DPS thing anymore, which is weird. So I have SCADA and WoW, and every time we go into something, it's like, would you like to reset SCADA? I'm like, I guess. I'm not even gonna look at it. So
yeah, I don't look at them. I mean, except for like last night when I kicked your butt on the meters, but I don't
chase that. I chase that meter. I want to be best on that meter. There's
as
no
a
other
DPS,
thing to do. If you are not top dips, you suck, and you need to go get a different group.
That's how I really felt.
Stupid, dirty,
with
casual.
DPS.
Get out of here!
Yep.
You are horrible.
See now I'm wanting to go against Minus and ban them outright.
That's all I had to do.
When I hear Ben talk.
There you go. That's all it takes.
Well, that's what I did too.
Wait, hold on. Okay, hold on.
The Optiplex.
Every time I try to play the lounge music, so I play our lounge music, it just plays that.
I'll just sing. The look.
Hey, I will say one more thing about Reddit. Hey, Skeleton Jack is one of the moderators. I know he's listened to our show before.
Yeah.
Man, ease up with the ban hammer, bro. Like, I read a post, I guess about a week ago, where someone made they were just saying that they were losing faith in Pantheon. They just banned their ass. He just banned them. Like, come on, man.
Wait, where? What?
On Reddit. This person went on Reddit. It's like a week ago. They went on Reddit and they were like, I'm losing faith in Pantheon. They sounded pretty sincere, I thought. But they banned that poor dude.
And yet, when somebody is super excited about Pantheon and releases a video,
they started citing something about his karma or something like that. I'm like, come on.
Karma?
Yeah. It's apparently your karma in that subreddit can dictate whether or not you're banned.
I don't like Reddit. I refuse to Reddit.
I like ideas to be evaluated on their merit.
That's right.
Not
We like ideas.
because they're perceived.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
We love ideas, everybody. We love them.
You know what we should have done? We
It's
should have
time
played
to
that
get soft.
for our spouses whenever we were in the pool. Just to
Oh, I've
see what
showed
would've
that to
said.
my wife all the time. I
I
send
will
that to
not
her.
show it to Wesley.
I send that to
He'll
her
be
daily.
Like, the hell? My husband thinks that you guys protect me from negative influences.
Yeah, we do. We really do. That's right. It's time to get soft with the community. And I want to kick this off. I want to get soft with the Lightbringer Guild in World of Warcraft for being so awesome.
They are
They're
nice people.
awesome.
I-
Chilts.
I will always get soft with Chilts and Art anytime they want to get soft.
Chilts and Art. And then who was it? Drawl?
Yeah, Dronor, Dave. Yeah, he's a really good dude.
I'd like to get soft to him too.
Dronor.
Chilts pulled a minus with
yeah.
me. Like, did the thing like where we hang out and then everybody else goes to bed and then we stay up like way too late talking about just ridiculous stuff. 2 nights in a row. Chilts was there just talking.
I also need to
crap
get
with
soft with this one guy. I've been playing a lot of Division 2. And there was this guy, I was pinned down by 2 elites. I was getting my butt kicked. And Cheesy Boob 78 or something like that came out and bailed me out. And I'd like to get soft with him.
Cheesy boobs.
Cheesy boobs. Gross.
I think it was
That's
Cheesy
gross.
Boob 78. I think that's what it was. It was something like that. But they bailed me out. I was victorious. Thank you, Cheesy Boobs 78. Militus, who do you want to get soft with?
So just you guys get some popcorn and sit down because I need a long time to get soft with people.
That's okay. I've got vodka.
All right, good. So I want to first get soft with Battle Axe Theater.
Soft.
I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but Punk and Def do a Monday night live show now.
It's
They have
the
these great
softest.
YouTube videos.
It's the softest.
And they interact with you in chat, and if you say off the wall shit, I've gone
It's
in
like
there
Charmin
there
in your butt cheeks.
many times and just throwing all kinds of crazy
It's so
ideas out. And
soft.
I need
they're
to
really
catch
great.
it. I haven't caught it yet.
Oh,
I
it's great.
think it's at, and they're in chat with us, but I think Punk, is it 9 Eastern? I feel like it's either 8:30 Eastern or 9 Eastern. I usually jump in around that time and try to watch them. But it's pretty much every Monday night. So they're the shit. Definitely will give them a watch. They're a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah.
As I mentioned
9
earlier,
p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, 9 Eastern. That's what I thought. 9 Eastern every Monday. Check them out. Nathan made me laugh yesterday with this Dark Age of Information video where he has some pretty crazy dance moves and he sings "Carry On" as a kind of a mantra for us to get through these dark times.
Carry On My Wayward Son.
Sort of. Yeah.
But with different lyrics.
Just obviously with different lyrics about Pantheon. Yes. Go give it a listen, Tess. You'll like it a lot.
Soft.
Soft.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier,
So soft.
Minus got all kinds of soft with the kick-ass DPS meter video that, as I mentioned earlier, actually changed my mind. That was I gotta say, Minus. I gotta give you props, dude. That was probably the best video you've ever produced. I'm just gonna say it right now. It was great. So whatever you did in that, do more of it. That was awesome. Let's see. Big shout out to Defend the Night video game for a couple of reasons. One, soft. I gotta say, Defend the Night is setting a new bar in my mind for transparency of an indie developer. Every week, I look forward to Twitter. I pull up my Twitter. Boom. I think it's Fridays. Boom. I get a little dev blog. And Visionary Realms.
Oh yeah.
I get a little dev blog
I get that
showing actual gameplay. And then developers say, hey, we worked on the Fireball, we worked on this, worked on that. Here it is, check it out. And they show a little, I don't know, 15, 20 second clip. So number one, You guys are killing it. I love it.
Yeah.
Keep
And
it
I
up.
will say this. I will say
That's
this
great.
for Defend
It's-
the Night. I
they're
said
doing
this
it
in the
perfect.
pool when we were swimming around, talking about video games. What I really appreciated about this game, and
Getting
I don't
soft
know
in the
almost
pool.
anything about this game, but yeah, we were getting soft in the pool. I messaged them. I tweeted at them, and I was like, "Why Defend the Night? Why should I play this game?" Not expecting a response, and I got one.
Wow, really?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was.
I love
things like
everything
that
about
is-
how they're
is
handling their
beautiful.
business. It's amazing. We're gonna do some stuff about them soon. We just haven't gotten around to it, but I'd like to talk.
You guys
about
haven't given. Let me give him my number 2.
Give your
Yeah,
number
oh,
2.
okay.
I know what it
I
is.
said my number
So
1
sorry.
reason, but I haven't said my number 2.
Okay, what's your number 2?
Because they hired Lexer. I
I-
guess he's in chat with. I'm guessing he's programming for them. He could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he does that. That's his background. But that's freaking awesome, man. How
Yeah.
cool is that? That one of our Pantheon community members is hired on as a freaking dev. I know a dev now for making an MMO.
Yeah,
So, Lex,
that's awesome. It barely gets
you could
softer
get
than
me
that.
in the friends and family.
Yeah, that would be
I
soft.
would really. I mean,
Lex,
we're
that would
friends.
Be that would be the
we
softest thing
died
you could
together
do.
in Vanguard. I healed you in Vanguard.
Yeah, soft.
That deserves a friends and family alpha invite.
Hey,
Yeah.
Lex, I just want to say
Just saying.
I'm cuter than
That is very true. But I healed him.
I'm
She's
teasing.
cuter, but I healed you, Lex. I'm just saying. No, but all seriousness.
all seriousness. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations to Defend the Night. You hired an awesome person, and you're lucky to have him. That is fair. Minus, he said I kind of healed him because I did let all of us die. So that's
Oh.
fair. Oh, so yeah, Minus had to bring that shit up, and I bet I was gonna get an alpha invite until you mentioned that shit, Minus.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Thanks for killing my alpha invite.
Awesome.
Another big shout out to the one and only Coltrane, as we mentioned before. He's got a brand new podcast, as I mentioned earlier, called
Right.
Azeroth Public Radio. Now, here's the thing: if you're a fan of podcasts, you may or may not want to listen. And here's the reason I say you may not want to listen. His production value is insane. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
he's got segments and cutaways and voices and all kinds of crazy shit that I'm like, just never want a podcast again after listening to
Right.
his show.
Yeah.
I was
Like,
what
right?
I do
Yeah.
is so shit compared to this guy.
Yeah.
And it's if you like WoW or you like to be
no, it's just
entertained,
in
either
our
one,
defense,
give it a
we
shot.
have a cantaloupe with some sort of a fruit vegetable.
I hate that
rubbing
gif.
on
I
it.
hate it so much.
Do you think he
I
has
love
that
it.
kind of? Do you think he's got that kind
Nope.
of production value?
I think if he did, he would lose the title Azeroth Public Radio.
Yeah.
Blizzard would
think-
make him take.
All right.
So bad.
Everyone, listen, we were doing so well without like
Where's the
boob
sack
jokes.
on that though? There's no sack.
dick jokes. We were doing so well. I thought we were gonna
it's,
get through it.
But there's no sack.
No,
on that.
it's
I
one
just
half.
now noticed that.
It's one half of a scar.
Oh man.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
done.
man.
I'm done with all my crazy shout outs. Yep.
All right. Well, that's.
What about Tess? What about Tessie Poo? We didn't ask her.
My shout outs are personal.
Oh.
I'd like to shout out.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's
Soft.
not like that.
Super duper.
I'd like to
personal.
shout out to Militus's family,
Oh.
his kids and his wife, for being so cool with hosting a bunch of nerds, having a adult spring break high school drunken party in their backyard.
I do have something
And-
funny about that. Fragile is famous because Militus's son talks about Fragile.
He does.
talking-
Fragile.
He does.
Listen,
Yeah, he was.
Fragile.
He was like
My
fragile.
son totally talks about you all the.
Yes, he
Yeah,
talks
he's
about
like
fragile all the time.
fragile. We're standing in line in Dollywood, and he's like, "What was you guys need to like talk more about fragile?" And I'm like, "You know fragile?"
Yeah. So fragile
Yeah.
is famous. All right.
Fragile, you are a fan in the Militis
Yeah,
household.
you have a 14-year-old. Well, I guess he's pubescent, not prepubescent. Pubescent boy now is a fan. for
and
sure.
and can I
So
just
that makes
say,
you-
and listen, I just want to also give a shout out. I know this is so probably outside of the realm of what we do, but to Mila and Boomy for being such exquisite family men. Their
I thought it was a bunch of
kids, no, their kids are amazing. Their wives are amazing. Like, seriously.
I thought she was going to talk about our swimsuits.
What?
Well, is she gonna mention the speedo I was rocking?
Yeah. Rock.
And the 26% body fat that was not there. Like, what 26% of body fat? Like, F you.
Like I said, I was wearing the speedo. You just didn't catch it.
I was just focusing.
Oh God. Well, thank you guys. That was so much fun. You didn't have to fly down and boom, came down with the whole family. We got to do it again next summer. Definitely.
Yeah, the end. We're doing it. This is a summer thing.
It's a
now.
tradition now.
Well, everybody, we've had a lot of fun. We've talked about a lot of Pantheon. In fact, we've talked for almost 2 hours. Speaking of long podcasts.
Well,
You
we've
guys-
been away for so long.
It's
we had
true.
to do it.
It's true. We had some stuff to talk about, and we also talked a lot about getting together. So that was kind of fun. Anyway, everybody, be sure to catch this wherever it's played. Tell your friends, and don't forget to try Boom's Mead
Manscaped.
when it makes it your way. There you go. And that's it. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're out.